It's time for Inside the Patch with your Las Vegas Raiders. Here's Gnarley Charley.
It's Inside the Patch. It's Gnarley Charley, along with Mitch Adams. And I got to say, man, I was still in my Halloween costume. And I got a text from Mitch Adams that said, "Hey, brother, check this out. The witch is dead." And I go, "What?" And all of a sudden, Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler are gone. Lombardi's gone. And so, Mitch, I don't know, you brought all that to my attention. I was like, oh my goodness. At first I thought you were joking with me. I thought it was a prank.
I saw it pop up and I'm like, oh my God, I've got to share this with everyone.
Oh my goodness. It's like, where were you when you got the news?
Yeah, going to bed. It was late.
Well, because, okay, now think back. On Halloween, that was the end of the trade deadline. And nothing had really happened all day, so I'm thinking, oh, man. And then, but the trade deadline has nothing to do with firing a coach.
No. But the Raiders love being in the news cycle.
My goodness. So,
I didn't know what we were going to talk about this week. It's like a broken record.
I didn't either. That was the worst game ever. That was the worst game ever, you know?
And here we have...
Mitch and I got to talk about something. That's what I thought about. I go, what are we going to say? Hey, by the way, did you catch that horrible game where we look like we're going nowhere and there's zero hope?
But you know what? Even as bad as that game was, and you know, when the offense is on the field for only almost 21 minutes and the defense is on the field for almost 40 minutes, you can't expect them to hold what they have. I mean, it was 9-0, and there was still a chance, and it was 7-9, and it was like, oh my God, we're still in this game.
Right.
And then 16-14, and even when it was 26-14, I'm like, there's a chance, but we made mistake after mistake after mistake, and then you rush the defense back out on the field, and you can't expect them to be on the field for that long and continue to be dominant, because they really had stopped that Lions offense for a bit there, and then the dam broke. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, something has got to change. If McDaniels comes back next week, Mark Davis needs to sell the team, because he's not seeing what we're seeing.
Right.
And sure enough, I think enough was enough, and he pulled the trigger.
Well, okay, here's what I heard. I heard Charles Woodson went in and had a heart-to-heart with the owner and said, this has to change. Now, I don't even know where I heard that, but that kind of makes sense to me, because Woodson is still young enough to where the players love him and respect him. And he's in the locker room all the time. He knows what's going on. And someone had to go to Mark and say, look. And you know, when you're the owner of the team, think about his father, Al. Al had a direct contact to the bench. He could call down and tell the coach, hey, I want you to do this. And I think he's the only owner to ever do that. No owners do that. No owners were football coaches.
I have a story.
I bet you do.
So, and we'll come back to everything that happened, but talking about Al calling down from upstairs to the sideline.
Yeah.
This is when Tim Brown first came back after retiring.
Uh-huh.
And he did the Legend show. So after the show, I took him down on the sideline. Man, everybody was so happy to see him. He's hugging everybody. And somebody runs over to me and says, Al says, he's got to go. And we had to usher Tim off the sideline. I never told Tim, and if he sees this show, this will be the first time he's heard about it. But I said, hey, Tim, NFL rules say we've got to go because whatever. I said, let's get out of here. But Al had made the call from upstairs. Get that guy off my sideline.
Well, and I think Al came to be okay with it, but it hurt his feelings when he left. You know, it always does.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that. I was at that game. I remember watching him. He had a blue suit on, walking across. I asked him a question at your Legend show. I said, Mr. Brown, I think I said, Mr. Brown, it's got to be bittersweet. You got 100 touchdowns, but your last one was against us.
Yeah.
And he goes, yes, it was, but but that was a day I'll never forget. You know.
Yeah.
And okay, now part of that. Sometimes I felt like I didn't like what he did to Marcus Allen. I hated that, you know. And I'm not privy to what was really going on. I don't know, you know.
No one knows. And those that do know aren't talking. But
Right.
back to Al, every move he made was for the good of his football team. And, you know, like someone said on the news this morning, Al lost his fastball along the way. And so some of his moves became, you know, mediocre.
Right.
But when he was Al, man, the moves he made were dynamic. And I think Mark wants to make similar moves, and a lot of them haven't worked thus far. And, you know, sometimes you have to eat a little crow when the move didn't work. And this is one of those times. And I think he waited 2 weeks too long because this guy should have been gone. Well, I guess we won a couple games there, but I thought he should have been gone after the Pittsburgh loss, and then there was another, and then the Charger loss. As fans and people who love this organization, you can feel when a head coach has a team and when a head coach has lost a team. And I'll tell you, and I'm not even that close to the team anymore.
Right.
He lost that locker room.
Yeah.
He lost the respect of those men. And once that happens, you can't get it back.
Did you feel like the Raider Nation? I mean, there were guys fire him, you know, to a point where I'm like, it doesn't work that way. But there does come a point where you have to go, because he's losing a lot of money. He's losing $40 million or more and he's got to pay McDaniels. He's got to pay him still.
Yeah, it doesn't count against the cap. You're printing money in Las Vegas. It's a drop in the bucket.
But I'm just saying, it's coming out of his pocket. And what did he coach? 16 games total?
An expensive mistake. I mean, that's all you can chalk it up to as an expensive mistake. No, he was 9-16, I believe, something like that.
9-16, yeah. Well, he lost 16. Yeah. Well, okay, so here's what I think. It wasn't he didn't want New England West. He wanted Patriot Brady. West. He wanted Brady West. The whole thing is, well, maybe if I get Josh, then Brady might maybe come back. It was all. I really feel like, I think Brady's probably the one that has his ear too. You know, they're partners on the women's basketball team. They have interests together.
They do. Yeah. And Brady. You know, what can you say about him? At one point, I never thought I'd like him, but then you come to respect him and you start looking at him like, this guy's incredible. And now he's part of the Raider organization. And so you've got this winning sort of former player that's walking those hallways at times, and you need that to rub off on these guys. Antonio Pierce, the interim head coach, also won Super Bowls, and he was a very intense player. That's going to rub off on these players. And so that's what you want these players to be around. Josh McDaniels, I never got that from him, that he exuded this positivity that these players would buy into. It was almost like my way or the highway, and he was always standoffish by himself on the sideline. It's like, dude, be part of the team. And you could sense something was not right. Something was askew there, and I think everyone noticed it. And it was just a matter of time before something happened. He probably knew it as well.
Antonio Pierce, undrafted, okay? There's something about a person that's undrafted that knows, okay, so no, you didn't pick me? Well, that's your mistake, because watch this. And they work harder. I can compare it to, let's say, a model, beautiful girl, you know? She never has to try. She doesn't have to do anything. All the guys just come to her. There's someone maybe not so good looking, but has to work on their personality. All these things, right? At some point, the beautiful woman's got no game. And when your looks go, she's nothing. She's got nothing. Right. She's got she never worked for it. Everything was just handed to her.
Never.
And much like these players that are hungry, and they're like, nah, don't call me Mr. Irrelevant. Watch, that kind of thing. That mentality.
Yeah, it's almost like a baseball manager most of the managers were marginal players.
Right.
And they had to learn the game up here. They didn't have the physical gifts to dominate physically, but they knew the game frontwards and backwards. And then they could come in and teach it. You look at a Magic Johnson when he tried to coach. He played the game on sheer talent alone. Of course, he knew it, but it was his talents that got him over. And then when he tried to coach players and they didn't have that same sort of talent or drive to get better, he got frustrated. Antonio Pierce is that guy that had to scratch and claw for everything he had.
Right.
And I'll tell you, man, I remember when he played for Washington. I remember when he played for the Giants, and he was a guy you did not want to come up against. He was that hard, gritty linebacker, almost like a Jack Del Rio. That same sort of bravado.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you heard the press conference today, but man, I was fired up listening in. And I never knew that he was born and raised in Compton, that he was a Raider fan as a kid. That,
L.A. Raiders, baby.
He said, I bumped NWA. I wore my Raider hats. He said, going to L.A. Coliseum. Long Beach Poly guy. I mean, wow. That's Southern California, man. That's when the Raiders were in L.A. that he was a kid. So he says, I was born a Raider. If that's not your coach, dude, these guys are going to be... I guarantee the game on Sunday, you're going to see a different type of energy on that sideline. I swear you're going to see it.
Well, that's the one thing I felt was missing on Monday night. I was like, man, the defense, okay, Max Crosby, great. The defense did as much as they could. There was a couple of missings, but they were on the field too much. We knew that. But, man, our offense, I think Derek Carr could have made those throws. You know what I mean? I was thinking, this is who you traded for. And Garoppolo, no offense, but he's not. He's hurt. He's not. He's not who he should be.
He's done.
Yeah.
Here anyway. Done with the Raiders.
Well, now if he gets hurt, we owe him $11 million. If he doesn't get hurt, then we can cut him and we save $11 million. The thing is, I think they're going to do what they did to Carr in a way. I mean, just as a business move. He's never going to be our future quarterback.
No.
No. If Aiden O'Connell can't do it, we're going to find someone next year. But
draft is full of quarterbacks this year.
Yeah. So there's no future where I see Garoppolo rehabbing, healing, and coming back.
No.
Because that was all based around he knew Josh McDaniels' offense, and now Josh is gone, so there's no reason for James Richard Garoppolo to hang around anymore. Although he will hang around. Would you call him that?
I don't know that he'll do anything other than be the tutor for Aiden O'Connell.
He could be a good commentator. Look at Tony Romo. Who knows?
I mean, this year he'll be a good tutor for. Oh man, you put that pretty boy up in the booth? Come on, he'll be all right. He'll be all right.
Well, and so my biggest takeaway from all this is I went from just so sad about the season, and it's not even halfway through. I mean,
no.
And all of a sudden, now I have something to cheer for. I hated not liking the man that's leading our team. I hated not trusting him. I've told you that from day one. I don't like the way he carries himself. I don't like the way he doesn't call players by their names. He calls them by their number. He just it started with John Madden, the most personable player. He didn't care what your background story is. You come and play, and you just win, and I got a place for you.
Yep.
And there was a connection,
You look at, and I don't know what the story is, but Hunter Renfrow disappeared, and I say this every week. I certainly hope he makes a reemergence this weekend against the Giants because he's a weapon that, that's going to open up the run game as well as the deep ball. Because if he's working underneath, you've got to keep an eye on him, and then you can't double team on the outside. And then you take advantage of the outside or up the field, and then you can open up the running game. The Raiders offense has a lot of weapons that are underutilized. You got a great rookie tight end in Michael Mayer. You got Hunter in the slot. You got Jacoby and Myers on the law firm of Jacoby Myers on the outside. You have Devontae Adams,
right?
Arguably the best receiver in the game, and then you have last year's leading rusher. There's no reason that we are the 31st ranked offense. I think Denver's the only team behind us, and now they're 3-5. So that means we stink. For some reason, we stink.
Did you ever see that movie, Good Morning Vietnam, with Robin Williams? Robin Williams is a DJ in Vietnam, and he's funny and crazy, and he's just doing his thing. Well, all of a sudden, he gets a new boss, and the boss comes in here and says, no, you don't do it that way. You don't do it that way. Yeah, this is how you do it. This is what funny is. And just stifled his creativity. And I feel like that's the way Josh coaches, because Josh thinks he's Belichick, and he's not. You have to earn that. Belichick wasn't always Belichick. Belichick was not as curmudgeon-y and the way he was 20 years. He earned that. He earned that by winning Super Bowls. But you're Josh McDaniels. You're not him. And so you try to pull that off. You're just stifling. I mean, we missed out on Devontae and Carr because they got in trouble anytime they deviated from the plan. Could you imagine Gruden with Devontae and Carr? Because Carr would change the plays. Hunter Renfrow never ran a pattern exactly. It's crazy, you know?
Actually, any quarterback out there, I think, would have made those connections. We get the ball, a turnover deep in enemy territory, maybe in the red zone. First play, interception. What? You can't throw it to the back of the end zone? And then the next one you overthrow. I mean, that's 14 points there. That's, in my book, 14-14. That gives you a victory, man.
Yep.
Because that makes 28-26. I mean, woulda, coulda, shoulda. All that's behind us. The feeling I had after Monday Night Football, I didn't want anybody to talk Raider football with me, especially if they were negative.
I know.
And now it's like, hey, anybody want to talk about this new interim head coach? Because he got me fired up. And I guarantee, and I'll say it again, I guarantee the body language of those players on the sideline is going to be vastly different than what we saw in these last 8 weeks.
I wouldn't want to face them this week. I don't care who you are. I wish it was Chiefs week. I really do. Because I think there's going to be a whole new team. And I don't know what they call it. They call it the Mandela effect when things happen. I call it the Versace effect, is when everyone's counting you out and everyone's playing for their next job or for what could be. And that's when these guys are dangerous.
Yeah.
That's when you got professional athletes, you know?
And it's Antonio's former team, the Giants, coming to town.
Yeah, yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot to play for. There's the pride, number one, to wear the shield, the silver and black. There's a certain amount of mystique behind that was tarnished over the last 25 games and under McDaniels. And I think you're going to see its swagger and these guys playing a little looser and having fun. And give the quarterback the ability to check out of a play and if you see something. This guy was so rigid, blinders on, do things my way, I know best. And it's just these are professionals. You got to give them a little leeway.
Like, nobody wants to play when you're under scrutiny. I've had program directors that could listen to you while you're on the air, like we're talking, but then we could talk in my ear. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And I was like, when you worry about mistakes and not worry about
like what?
Yeah. It's like, what are you doing? And man, did you see Crosby when he got in there so fast and he goes, I'm a dog. He just started screaming.
And it's like more than that.
That's kind of what I saw. I don't probably a little bit more than that, but he made it very clear. You are not stopping me.
Yeah.
You are not.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Crosby, his counterpart on the other side, Chandler Jones, and I know this is I'm a bit off subject, bit off topic, but he said something in one of those cryptic posts that he put out in the middle of the night where he talked about Josh McDaniels and the GM and how bad they were.
Right.
And maybe he was telling the truth.
I don't think they can bring Chandler Jones back.
No, I'm just, I just
I
thought of that. And,
because he said too much.
He did say too much.
But
I think he spoke a bit of truth about
I do too.
McDaniels, and it's come back to roost. Now, speaking of the other side, though, I did notice Tyrese Wilson playing a bit faster and a bit better. He's getting in there. In fact, he had a sack. I don't think last week, it was the week before last, he had a sack. So he's starting to play. And if he could apply pressure, because Max is everywhere. Oh my God. That is a position that you have to draft for next year. Another defensive end or trade for a veteran to complement Max or a linebacker on that side that can be a rush end.
I hate going back to Carr all the time, but with Carr, we scored 28 to 36 points a game. We were scoring. If we had this defense and Carr, and think about it, then we would have them on the field all the time for one. And I know I can't fix that. I feel like Derek just got screwed every time, man.
He did get screwed, but he needed a change of scenery under the current regime. Now, if Gruden had still been here, I think things would have been sorted out. But it is what it is. We have to move forward. And,
right.
And I do think we have enough. Defenses, the front seven has proven that they can do what they do. The defensive backs, the corners, I'm not entirely sold on them, and maybe because we're not getting enough of a rush that they're putting in an unenviable situation to have to guard a little bit longer. Bennett was out of place on the running back when he scored. There's some things that film studies will help correct. But that defense is playing a lot better than I expected. And if we had an offense to keep them off the field a bit, because how many 3-and-outs did we have?
Oh, it was just bad.
It's like,
you know what though, Mitch? Think about this, man. I'm excited in the fact that if you look at our games, who we're playing for the whole year, right? All the games we thought we were going to win, we lost. And I bet we're going to win a lot of games that we didn't think we had a chance. That's what's going to happen. There is something in the air. And even if we don't, no harm, no foul, at least we're going in a better direction,
Yes. I didn't know what sort of chance we had against the Lions. I thought maybe because it was Monday night, we might sneak up on them.
Yeah.
And we possibly could have. But the disparity in time between offense and defense on the field, 2-1, that's not a sustainable way to run your defense because you're just running the ragged. They gave up 486 yards to our 157. I mean, that's that's just horrible. And hopefully Aiden O'Connell, although he's a rookie, he gets the ball out of his hand really fast. He makes decisions quickly. Yeah. And we'll live with his mistakes because he'll learn from it. But at least he'll be getting the ball out and hitting receivers on their breaks. And hopefully that will open the field up for us to get that running game going that keeps the offense on the field and the defense rested.
I keep piling on Garoppolo too, and I know his term is done with spin. The Niners were getting rid of him, and think about it. He was in line to be MVP of the Super Bowl, okay? And they were up 10-0, and then that Chris Jones just kind of scared him. And then at the end, he still had a chance to win, and he missed a throw. And that throw would have been a career changer for him, and it didn't. Mm-hmm. And so now we bring him in, and it's evident that he can't make those throws anymore. It's not. Sorry, you did a great job. You're good looking. You had your moment, but it's not gonna work out.
It's not. And on Gannon's show today, he said that James Richard Garoppolo looked scared out there. Mm-hmm. And like his feet, like he's injured, he's not setting his feet because he's too busy looking to see who's coming. And, maybe he is hurt more than he's let on. And
That's the thing.
He needs to sit down. So, whatever the case is, Antonio Pierce, Champ Kelly as a GM or interim GM, interim head coach, I think they're going to breathe some energy into the building over there, and these guys are going to come out and play because it didn't look like anyone was happy. I mean, they were happy they made plays, but it just didn't. It didn't feel like Raiders of the past.
It felt like nobody cared. It felt like even when we weren't winning that much, we still were in every game, and there was a chance, and we could march it down there and score. And you always had hope. I had zero hope last week.
You could feel the dissension, and again, I remember telling someone, I said, he's lost the team.
Yeah,
and I really think that it happened, and if the story is true that Woodson marching there, that's somebody you need to listen to. So
well, I see McDaniels open his fridge, and on the back of his milk carton it says the team. He lost them. They're missing. You're not gonna find them, man. It's over. You know what I got to say about this, though? I think we might have to label this season the perfect rotation. Because guess what? We are rotating into something new. And if there was only a basketball training device called the perfect rotation, which there is, it really is a great name for our season. Because it's we're rotating. We're rotating.
We're pivoting to something different. And again, Antonio Pierce played in the league. He was intense. And his press conference, and I challenge you to go back and find some clips of it.
Yeah.
He said some things that I was like, oh my God, that's the kind of coach you want to play for.
Exactly.
And you'll run through a wall for this guy. And that's going to make a ton of difference. And
I agree, man, 100%. Yeah. I agree. Mitch Adams, I love having this feeling in my heart again. I feel like the Shield is back, man. Baby, it's back. And so, like we said, no matter what happens, at least we're going to see heart and soul on that field,
Yeah, there's 9 games left.
Yeah.
9.
We could go on a run. We could still do some damage here. So
we really can.
I know, and I believe
9 games left.
I believe, man. I believe
it. We've only been out of 2 games. Buffalo and Chicago kicked our butts.
Yeah.
Again, I think the team was lost by that time.
Right.
2 games. We were in Detroit last week. We've been in all the others.
Yeah. If there was only a motto like "just win," baby, that would be perfect.
Commitment to excellence.
Yes.
And just win, baby.
That's a good. See, there you go, Mitch. I don't know where you came up with that. That's perfect. I love it.
Do you remember when Shanahan came in to coach the Raiders in L.A., and they went from being this bunch of renegades and free spirits to him trying to have them all buttoned up, and
yes,
you can't sit on your helmet, you can't do this, you can't. And he killed their spirit, and this kind of felt the same way. And, and then Art came in, and these guys went on a run. So let's see what happens.
I'm never gonna forget Halloween 2023. When Ding Dong, the witch is dead. That's all I keep thinking, man. Mitch Adams, thank you so much. PerfectRotation.com is your training advice. We'll see you next week. Go Raiders, man.
Go Raiders.
We'll be back with more Inside the Patch on 1430 ESPN, your official home of the Las Vegas Raiders.